My first involvement with the student movement, that would have been 1960. So you're talking about 45, well, no, 55 years ago almost. It's a long time. And, and I don't remember a lot of details, but I do remember the major issues and events and the spirit with which we did what we did. Mhm.
Well, I just wanted to ask you, is there anyone else you think we need to talk with or interview? I have to admit to you, it has been extremely difficult trying to reach and find individuals to be recorded and interviewed. Is there anyone that comes to mind that you
Well,
might recommend? I know you mentioned Marion White Edelman.
yeah, I have tremendous regard. Yeah, Marion has been consistent since she was a student at Spelman, and she was 2 years ahead of me. She doesn't like for me to talk about that since I have so much gray hair, but she was 2 years ahead of me. She's been a tremendous inspiration throughout my career, and even now, I think last year, the year before, we did a program at the National Cathedral together talking about the whole issue of gun violence and its impact in the black community. Marion actually preached that Sunday at the cathedral, but I was involved on a panel talking about the public health approach to gun violence. Otis Moss has gone on to become one of the great leaders in this country in terms of ministers, and as you know, he chaired the board at Morehouse College for several years. I think he's still on the board. Lonnie King, of course, has been a leader in Atlanta. Lonnie was a leader in the movement. Charles Black is still around. Brenda Sue Hill, who is now Brenda Cole, went on to become a judge. But Brenda and I was in the same year. Brenda and my future wife, Callie, were roommates at Spelman. But I've known Brenda since we were freshmen, and I hope you've interviewed her.
We have.
Okay.
We have. And she gave us some great insight on the sit-ins at Grady.
Oh, great, very good. She would probably, some of that happened after I left and went to medical school. I'm trying to think. And of course, John Smith, you've interviewed, I take it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, those are the ones that come to my mind immediately. And I mentioned Julian Bond, of course. Hope you get a chance to interview him if you haven't.
I talk to him every now and then.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that, Michael. Yeah. No, he's a tremendous role model, courageous guy in so many ways.
Well, thank you for saying that.
Mhm.
Well, I know we've interviewed just about everyone except for Marion White Edelman. We need to try to reach out to her. We're trying to coordinate a trip for a videographer to go to D.C. because there are about, let's say, I'd estimate probably about 6 to 10 people in that area that were here in Atlanta that now live there, that I'm beginning to work to see if we can put together a trip to send a videographer up there to
Good.
record
Good.
that to
You know,
record it as well.
you know, I wish you could interview, and you probably won't be able to, because I don't even know where she is. But there was an exchange student at Spelman whose name was Annie Jo Weaver. She was white. Um, uh, she came to Spelman as an exchange student and got involved in the movement. As I remember it, her parents were concerned about her being involved in the movement, and when it came time for her exchange to end, she decided that she wanted to stay on, and her parents said if she stayed on, they would not continue to support her. So Annie Jo got a job at Spelman. I know she was selling ice cream for a while. But Annie Jo was the student who was with me when we went on the hunger strike. And it was really her idea. We were on the way to jail. And she asked me if I had ever been on a hunger strike. And I told her no. And she suggested that, you know, maybe we should do that. And because we were trying to draw attention to the problems in Atlanta. And I think that was on the front page. Somebody sent me an article recently from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. I think it was May 23rd, 1963. It's an article about the hunger strike. And these things put a lot of pressure on the business community. Atlanta was becoming a global city, and the business community wanted to see itself as a leader globally. So the time came when they could no longer afford these kinds of stories. And I think the students took advantage of that. Now, I wish I could tell you more about Annie Jo Weaver. I probably will be able to think of Mount Holyoke, I believe she may have been from. I may be wrong about that. But the last time I communicated with Annie Jo, I think it had just been announced that I was going to be appointed director of the CDC, I think it was. And I got a letter from her, and I responded. But then I never heard from her again, and because I think she went into some kind of religious order or something, and so hasn't been easy to be in touch with her. But her name was Annie Jo Weaver, and I don't know whether Spellman. That's a thought, is that maybe Spellman knows how to get in touch with her.
Well, we will try to run her down.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah, it would be great to get her.
we'll get her efforts that
Yeah, it would be great.
we go private.
Mm-hmm. It'd be great to get her perspective. Okay.
Fantastic.